And there we go. All right. Let's start. So welcome, everybody. This is a new month. This is June. And gratefully, we've only got a couple more days, apparently and officially. We've got like, hello, Anzani. We've got, sorry?
No, sorry, that was a mistake. Sorry about that.
No problem. So we've got 17 more days, and then it starts getting lighter again, and then we're over the worst of winter apparently, but I think it's going to get colder still. Oh my word! Before it gets warmer. But anyway, we're going to brace ourselves. So welcome everybody. This is M2, and now we're starting to take the robots up a level, and so. Between today and tomorrow, and Tumelo's got a couple of robots in the hub that he said he'll demonstrate for us, and hopefully we'll have some time to do some practical stuff. We really do think that that's just kind of the secret to learning is to be able to doing, and so having some practical. Oh dear, sorry. Oh dear. So maybe we'll do some practical tomorrow. We as a team are celebrating our 3rd birthday. We're going to celebrate it a little bit earlier. It's actually on Sunday. We have been a science center now for 3 years, and so we're very proud of ourselves. But yeah, so we will be in the hub tomorrow. Hopefully we'll do some practical sessions then on tomorrow. We've got a whole lot of things we also need to do tomorrow, so tomorrow's going to be quite hectic. All right, back to what we're actually doing. We're doing sensors, and so in M1, we really introduced the basic chassis. Just build a little baby robot. Just build the wheels, the motors, the brain, just get it moving. And so that was Unit 1. And Unit 2, we introduced the basic programming, just getting the robot to move. And then in Unit 3 of M1, we introduced how do you solve a problem? How do you navigate the robot? So how do you navigate around a square? How do you navigate around a rectangle? How do you navigate around a circle? And some people got it right. And then we kind of added a challenge into how do you navigate to write a letter of your name, obviously with a Koki pen stuck next to the robot. And then we upped, so that was all about the function, all right? And then in Unit 4, we introduced the form. We changed the form by adding passive attachments. And passive attachments are really any attachment that you attach onto a robot with no motors attached. So it will be a bumper, a plow, a scoop, a sweep, that little pivot trigger thing, a gated trap. Okay, so Anzani is now busy. And so in everything we did in M1, we are now building on that. All right. And so part of the building on it is we're going to look at 2 aspects. First, on the functioning of the robot, and to kind of up the level of the function of the robot, we're going to add sensors. We're going to add sensors to the robots, and we're going to see how we can use the programming to make it more intelligent. All right. So don't just move forward until you see something, or move forward until you see a line, or if you see a line, go left. If you don't see a line, then you go right. Okay. So all these things are like. This is how the sensors are working. Okay, so that is the function. The form is what we're going to do in Unit 3 and 4. That's tomorrow. We're going to introduce gearing, and then we're going to introduce powered attachments. All right. So in all things, there's always a form and a function. I just want to quickly see we've got an apology here. All right. Okay, it's okay. All right. So that is what M2 is about. So it's upping the level first in the function with sensors, and then in the form where we take gearing and we do powered attachments. And powered attachments are your attachments that you can control by programming. Obviously, to grab something, to lift something, to drop something, to lift something higher like that. Any of those are then your functions. Okay. And then we have a form to increase the functioning of it. Okay. All right. So on with the show. I want to just show you 2 robots. The first robot is we've attached a touch sensor. I'll get to it, but I just wanted to show you an example. So this is a touch sensor, and your robot will then not do anything until you press the touch sensor. The touch sensor, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of got an in-out kind of thing. So a really cool way to start a program so you don't have to here look on the screen every time is to have a touch sensor that you can just touch. All right. A lot of teams have what they call a magic wand, and so they don't actually dismantle the orientation of your robot. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You'll see this robot also has a touch sensor in the front, so it doesn't bump against something, although it's only just slightly ahead of the front of the robot. So if you look at it from sideways, you'll see that it'll be probably close to the wall when it crashes into it. So we want to avoid that. So to make it longer, sometimes what you do is come on, can't do it with one hand. You sometimes take the touch sensor and you add a thing in the front, so you lengthen the range of your touch sensor. So obviously when it comes to a wall, it will hit and then it'll stop before the whole robot goes smashing into the wall. Okay, so that's the one, that's a touch sensor. You'll see there's a color sensor here as well. And just as a rule of thumb, your color sensor is usually over the wheel that we are following the line on. So this one, we would be following the line on the right-hand side. Now, we're going to show you some examples tomorrow, I promise. Okay, something just totally different. Here, we've got two color sensors, and you can see that there, all right? And so we're going to I'll explain now, but the two color sensors, you can see are well hidden, okay? So when the robot travels, it doesn't get impacted as much by the lights from the left and the right, okay? This is just to control what the color sensors actually see, or the lights in, okay? With how much light comes in. So if you've got this quite flat on the mat, you're not going to be distracted by other colors. Okay, so that is kind of a general introduction to sensors, and I'm going to do some practical. I'm going to show you some stuff, and then I'm going to show you the programming actually part of it. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Anzani and Tumelo, thank you for being in the lobby. Okay, let's share my screen quickly. And then I need somebody just to say they can see my screen. Yay. All right. Yes?
Yes.
Your screen is clear.
Oh, very clear. Thank you very much. All right, team. All right. So so this is unit 1. We're going to introduce sensors, and it might sound overwhelming, but I think if you follow the overview document that you can get on the M2 site, you will see that it's laid out. Every unit has got a focus, and so the learning is just broken up into little chunks. All right. So in terms of sensors, we usually use the touch sensor. It's the easiest one to introduce to the learners, that they understand the concepts. We're all about concepts. Okay. So a touch sensor would be the easiest one. The ultrasonic, so this is the touch sensor over here. That's the EV3's touch sensor, and this is the Spike Prime's touch sensor. Then the ultrasonic, that's the EV3's ultrasonic, and that's the Spike Prime's ultrasonic. You'll see that the Spike Prime's sensors already come with wires attached. I'll show you when we break after unit 1. I'll show you how to attach it. Okay. They have an ultrasonic always has 2 ports. So one sends the signal, one receives the signal, and so that is part of your learning, because if you have a rounded surface, there's always an angle of deflection, and so you will maybe not get that signal back. Okay. Yeah. And then the color sensor. The color sensor. This is the color sensor. This one is the EV3's color sensor, and this one is the Spike Prime's color sensor, and then this is the gyro sensor. And I want to hasten to add that I really think you must keep the learners constructive learning, touch sensor, ultrasonic sensor. When they've got that, go to the color sensor, and that they master the color sensor first before you go to the gyro sensor. Okay, the Spike Prime's gyro sensor is actually built in. All right, linked to that is the flow control. So up until now, we have only done linear. So you go left, and then you go right, and then you go left, and then you go straight, and then the program executes one after the other. Whereas with a loop, it repeats one or more lines of code, and with switch, it decides which code it's going to execute. And I'll get to that now. All right. Okay, so if you go into your M2 overview document, you'll read in Unit 1, why sensors. Now, we can write a whole lot about why sensors, and this was just an overview. And as a general introduction to robotic sensors, that's quite an interesting article, The Role of Sensors in the Evolution of Robotics. Obviously, as your sensors get cleverer, the robots can evolve more. Yeah, it makes it interesting reading. And so what you want to present to your learners is kind of sensors as a holistic thing, all right? And sensors are used to estimate and measure the condition and environment in which the robot moves. Okay, and so obviously if you've got only one sensor, you've got less environmental information, and as you increase your sensors, you've got more environmental information. Okay, so these are some of the topics you can discuss with your learners. Okay, the important thing also is that there's always the input, process, and output, and processing is your programming stuff, okay? And your output is how your robot's going to move, whether it's going to move forward, backwards, whether it's going to open the gripper or close the gripper, whether it's going to lift things up or drop things, okay? The input is what you get from your sensors, okay? So it's the kind of the measurement, how far is the object, how near is the object, what color is the object, okay? And well, it must be, the sensor must be attached correctly, but you must also be able to calibrate the sensor to make sure that what it's measuring is actually measuring, okay? And that's also part of the calibration of your sensor. All right, so how do we use the sensor data? We use the sensor data to fine-tune the programming or the function of the robot, right? So linear, there it just goes this, and then that, and then that, and then da, 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 da. Okay, repetition, we can do a chunk of code, but whether there's a condition on which it repeats. Whereas decisions, it must make either this or that. So it can't do everything. It's got to choose, and it's usually decision is upon the input data. So let me give you some examples. So if you attach it to the brain, it's got to click on, it's got a wire. You can see it over here. There's the wire. It clicks in there, and it clicks into the sensor. And with the spike primes, it just clicks into the brain. A touch sensor, you can bump or press or release. So you hold it in and then release it. The color sensor can get the ambient light or the reflected light. The ultrasonic, again, I said it was a transmit and receive. So it sends it out and then it comes back. And so that's what the measurement is. And then the gyro is the rotational tuning. I think we need to do a whole session on gyros, just by the way. Okay. So when you build your robot, you've actually got to attach the robot with a wire. You can see it's attached to the wire here. So the ultrasonic is usually always attached in port number 4, and the color sensor I usually do in port number 3, but that is neither here nor there. Okay, all right. So how to attach the touch sensor? The touch sensor is, you've got to be close to the surface, otherwise you're going to not bump into the object. All right. And it depends whether you want to bump in the front or in the back, you know, when you're reversing into something. I showed you just now a touch sensor facing up, so you can start it. It needs to be attached with a connector to keep it in its place. And then you've got to have a wire, okay, this black wire, so that it actually gets the functioning from the brain. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so just FYI, when you look at a robot and the kids say to you, man, the touch sensor's not working, check the wires. Okay. The ultrasonic again, and we usually have it moving forward, like over here in the front, so that it detects something in front of it. However, when we play robotic soccer, we attach it on the side, so it keeps the distance from the wall. And I'll show you that also later. Again, it connected with a connector, but the wire needs to be in the port. And if it's not attached properly, it's not going to pick up those measurements. Okay. And that comes, and I'll show you when you attach it on your programming, you can actually see to what it's attached. All right. The color sensor looks like this. Now, the color sensor you can use for a whole range of functions, whether you have to detect a line, whether you have to follow a line, or you can use it to find a color line, a specific color line. Again, you have to have a connector. And so just make sure that your sensors are not dangling. They must be connected quite securely. Also that your color sensor must, I always say your little finger must be able to go underneath it. It can't drag on the ground, and it also can't be too high, because then you get that distractive color from the side again. Okay, I'll show you now an example. Okay, and the gyro, I said we're going to park the gyro for a while and just maybe just introduce it, but I think we should do a whole session on the gyro sensor. Okay, so those are your sensors, and let's go with the 3 sensors for now. Okay, so how do we use the data or the measurements we get from our sensors to control flow control, or to control the flow control? All right, so an iterative one is a loop, and it means it does it a couple of times. So a loop allows it for a repetition of the code. So you have move backwards, forwards, move backwards, forwards, move backwards, forwards. That would be in a loop structure. Okay, so go forward, stop, turn left. That would be in a loop structure. You do it 4 times to get around a square. Okay, the conditional obvious is just a different one. It says if your robot's in a maze, if it goes forward and it hits a wall, as soon as it hits a wall, if it hits a wall, then it must reverse 2 loops, rotations back, and then it can continue. Okay, so that's a condition if you bump into a wall. And then the specified value, that is the value of the input data. You must do it until you see a red line, until you see. Okay, and that's used to control the loop. Okay. All right, so I was going to first go back out into the programming environment. I thought, let me just show you some examples first. So here on this side, it says when the program starts, you repeat something 10 times. So your something would be inside here. You would say, go forward, go back, go forward, go back, go forward, go back. Okay. And when it's finished, it's 10. It kind of goes. You see, there's a thing goes up here. Okay, so it'll go in here, repeat 10 times. So it goes in here. That's once, and then it goes in again, and then that's 2, and then 2 is not equal to 10, and then 3 is not equal to 10, 4, and it keeps looping like that until it gets to 10. It's done it 10 times, and then it goes down. It falls down. It goes to the next one. And they say stop and exit program. Woo! Okay. Please remember, this is the hamburger effect again. This is the top part, and you've got to have a flat bun at the bottom. Okay, but now just look here. So when the program starts, repeat until. So not repeat 10 times. No, we're going to repeat until what? And that what is like a diamond shape like that, and that is for the input from your sensor. Okay, so repeat until and something again, and then you've got oops, sorry. Oops, you got the arrow going round and round and round, and then you stop. So if you look at here, can you see, and I'm going to show you now on the dashboard. This shape fits into there. Okay, so you go down on your left-hand side until you get to sensors, and then you put the sensor in. So and repeat until the color sensor in port number 3 sees the color red. Ba-ding. So you do something. Do you see red? No. You do something. Do something. Do you see red? No. You do something. Do something. Do you see red? Yes. And then it goes. And then it goes out. All right. So again here, so I put in the color red, but you can also go on the touch sensor until the touch sensor in port number 1 is pressed. Ha! Okay, so you could take this blue diamond, elongated diamond out, and you could put this one in here. It depends what you're trying to do. It's the shape that fits into it. It makes it just much easier. And there's when the program starts, the top of your hamburger, and there's the stop when it's the end of the hamburger. Okay, I'm going to show you that now. Okay, very much with the switching or the decisions. Okay, so based on your input data, you're either going to go left or right, or stop or go, or something like that. And your switch structure allows for decision making. All right, and there's 2. All right, so I kind of pulled them off the screen and said, if the color is red, then you're going to do this. But if the color is not red, you're just going to stop. Okay. That is one decision. And if it's red, then you do something. Okay. So over here, there's an option. Okay. So if the touch sensor in port number 1 is pressed, you're going to do clockwise. But if it's not pressed, then you're going to do anti-clockwise. But now here's the thing. All right. You're not just going to do it once and then stop. Okay. So kind of put the pieces together to say, all right, we're going to go forward. And we're going to set our motion, B and C, to 50%. But now we want to repeat this whole thing, okay, 10 times. And then we're going to stop. So how do we do it? Well, we're going to, and I'll show you now, we're going to pull this up to there. And then we're going to put this whole thing into here. Okay. So it's going to look like that. Right. So now we've already, in unit 1, we've already combined the looping and the decision making. All right. You can do it. All right. You must just make sure that it makes sense with what you're doing. Okay. It's cool. It's cool. All right. So obviously there's a lot of additional videos and lots of really, really cool stuff. Maybe if somebody can send me a note and say what they found really helpful, so we can start modifying this list. If there are things that you can really identify with, you're welcome to send me a message, or if it's like really not working for you, then you let me know as well. Okay. The building instructions for the Riley rover actually show you how you need to attach sensors, but only for a certain reason. So if you wanted it to go forward, you could attach it forward. But if you want it to go backwards, then you have to put the ultrasonic at the back. All right. All right. So there's a lot of building activities in your overview document. So you can attach a touch sensor, and then you say the robot must move forward for 1, but only when you start with the touch sensor. So you start your program, and it won't do anything until you click the touch sensor. Okay. The other one is to have the touch sensor facing forward, and so you move forward until the robot collides with an object or the touch sensor is pressed, and then the robot must stop and then reverse for 1 rotation. Okay. Exactly the same with the ultrasonic sensor. So you put the ultrasonic sensor facing forward, and then you must go forward until there's an object. And when there's an object, you must stop. That's a momentum thing, and then you move back 2 rotations. All right. Now what you want already to do is you're ready to put both sensors on your robot. And the important thing here is to know which sensor is doing what. Okay. So the robot must be started with a touch sensor, and then the ultrasonic must get it out the maze. All right. Now, so that is a loaded thing. Okay. If you've built a really easy maze, it'll be probably easier to get out. But so you have a robot moving forward. When it touches the wall, it must stop, and then it must reverse, but it must reverse either to the left or to the right. And usually it moves as kind of reverses down to the right, and then it goes forward. So then if you can get that right, there you have 2, and there's a loop as well. It says only in a 2-minute time loop. So can you add the time constraint, the touch sensor, and the ultrasonic sensor? So then you've got the touch sensor as the outer loop. Okay. Then inside that is another loop that goes for 2 minutes, and inside that is the ultrasonic. Okay. If it sees something, it must stop and go forward. It doesn't see anything, it must just keep going forward. Okay. Let's see whether you can do that. And that's the end of unit 1. Are there any questions? Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Are there any hands? Tumelo and Anzani, are there any hands?
I did not see any hands, and on the chats, there's also nothing.
Nothing. Oh my goodness. All right. So obviously your homework is going to be to put a touch sensor and an ultrasonic sensor on your robot, and to see whether your robot can then get out of a maze.
Okay, there is a hand, Dr. Host from Mahlatsi.
Okay.
Let's quickly unmute him.
Hello, Mahlatsi. You want to unmute? Mahlatsi? You got your hand up? It looks like somebody's microphone is not cooperating. No. Mahlatsi, do you want to unmute yourself? Your microphone has been enabled. Hey, toch. All right. No. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to actually the colors, just specifically the color sensor. Mklatsi, if you want to unmute it anytime, if you get it right, let us know. Otherwise, you need to just jump off the call and come back in again. All right. If your microphone is not working for you. All right. Okay. So, and we'll demonstrate that tomorrow is about the line follow. And I'm going to show you, all right. I actually need to get this picture sorted out next time. I'll get the picture. So when you are doing line follow, there are two things, okay, that you need to know. So the first one is that your reflected light intensity is your RLI value. That's your RLI value. Your RLI value is the value of the light that's reflected, okay? And your light reflected is always on a range from 0 to 100, okay? So when 100% of the light is reflected, everything is reflected, it's 100%, that is when your eyes see the color white, okay? However, if all the light is absorbed and nothing is reflected, your eyes measure the color black. All right. So your range of your reflected light intensity is always from 0 to 100. Okay. However, sometimes, and then the halfway of that is then 50. Okay. So just remember that. However, sometimes when you do a light measurement, you can measure the light that your color sensor sees. When you do a light measurement, you might see that the room lighting doesn't allow a 0 to 100 range. It will maybe allow it a 20 to 80 or 90% color range. Okay, and you always take the halfway mark, or the threshold value will be the halfway between your maximum value and your minimum value that you get. Okay, so it's just the next step. We'll get there, but it's important that you remember that. Okay, the other thing that you need to remember, and I've got now my color sensor on the wrong side, so I'm really not. Okay, let's rather take this robot. So we're going to follow the line with this color sensor. Okay. So if you because this is the left wheel, we're going to follow the line on the left-hand side because we're in South Africa. All right. So if you were to imagine a piece of white paper with a piece of black masking tape on it, okay, and your robot is on the black line, and so it measures here on the left-hand side. Okay. So what we want, what we're going to get, if the color sensor is, and I often tell the children, you've got to look through it like through a toilet roll. So if your light sensor sees white, it knows it's going off the road. Okay, then it needs to go back onto the road. So then to go back onto the road, then your C motor will stop and your B motor will turn. Okay. However, if you're looking at it and you see just black, then you know you're veering onto the center of the road and you need to go more to that side. To go more to that side, your B motor goes off and your C motor has a higher power. Sometimes to start, we make stop and 30% power, and it makes a big zigzag. But we'll rather have a more smooth line follow. So we go kind of 10, 30, or it'll also just go slightly zigzag. Okay, that's the one thing when you follow a line with a color sensor. The other thing that you're going to learn is that if you go straight and to follow a line, then speed works. Okay, speed works there. If you are going around the bends, much like when you go follow a mountain route around very steep mountains, your color sensor might miss a reading if you're going to go too fast. So, rule of thumb is when you go straight, you can follow a line a little bit faster with more power. But if you're following the line in the bends, you've got to like slow it down, all right? Because you might miss a corner, you might miss a turning. Okay. The other one is if you're going around a 90-degree angle and you're following a line, you will maybe need to just calm down around the bend. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So that's the introduction. I'm going to now going to go on to my presentation, and I'm just going to go through the content of Unit 2. It's all discussed in your overview document, but let's just go through it, and then you can ask some questions. All right. I'm going to quickly share my screen.
And then another thing, Patricia, there is a question on the chat. I think
Oh, okay, I'm listening.
Didn't win with unmuting, so he wants to know what is an ultrasonic sensor.
Oh, an ultrasonic sensor. Okay, thank you for asking. So here's an ultrasonic sensor. Okay, and your ultrasonic sensor has a signal which sends and a signal that receives. Okay, so what happens with an ultrasonic sensor? It measures, so it sends a signal out from the sender, and then it goes to the surface, and then it's reflected and it's received by the receiver, very much like what a bat does with ultrasonic sensing. Okay, now the time it takes for that to come back is measures the distance that you have from your object. So an ultrasonic you would use to measure the distance from an object in front of you, and then so if your object is more than 5 centimeters, no, less than 5 centimeters to the robot, then it's a bit close, and then you might have to stop stop before you move into it. So you can, I don't know if you can see, it feels like your eyes are watching you. It's used to measure the distance to and from an object. Okay, if we have ultrasonics for soccer, we usually attach it like this so that we can measure the side to the side of the soccer field. We usually have a side up, and so it can measure the side, measure the distance. So again, it's a sender and a receiver. All right. One of the odd things about a ultrasonic is that if you have a rounded surface, like a coffee tin or something, all right, then it will send and then reflect and it won't receive it. Okay, and that is a crisis. Okay, now on this note, I'm going to ask Tumelo. I just need to open the door quickly. Tumelo, can you just take over and explain the sensors to us? Is that possible?
Okay, dokes.
I'm just going to unlock the gate quickly. 1 minute. Okay.
All right, thank you. Mathati, your hand was up. I don't know whether you covered on that part. All right.
Oh,
yes.
thank you.
Oh, are you fine? Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I'm covered. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So as you have seen, Dr. Gous was explaining there, we have the touch sensor, and we also have the ultrasonic sensor that she was talking about. So I'm going to quickly share my screen so that I show you, for some of you that are using the EV3 Lego Mindstorms app, so that you are able to know what exactly we were talking about. All right, so please confirm whether you can see my screen. All right. On the bottom or on the left-hand side of the screen there, it's sensors and it's light blue in color. So this is what Dr. Gous was talking about earlier on. I want to go to the touch sensor first. Oh, wait, sorry. So this one is the color sensor here. And then wait until color is red. This is still the color sensor. And then now this is the touch sensor here. So here on the touch sensor, you can either choose whether you want to put it on the ports that are numbered there, either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Normally when you put the color sensor you do not put them on the alphabets, because there on the alphabets we normally put our attachments, and there on the attachments, or this is where you put your motors. But on the front part of the brick, where there are numbers, this is where you can put your different types of sensors. For example, here we can simply say when program starts, we need to wait until the touch sensor is pressed. And then this is when you can simply program it and say, for example, set your movement motors to B and C, set your movement speed, and then you move forward. For example, you can say 3 rotations. And then you can say, wait for 1 second. And then you move backwards. 3 seconds, and then as Dr. Host explained, you put your hamburger, which is stop and exit program. So that's how you can include your color sensor in terms of including it on the programming side of things. And then the ultrasonic sensor part here. And it was going to be nice if we were to demonstrate this, or maybe I can ask amongst the audience, who amongst you are already using sensors and are facing difficulties, and then perhaps we can go through it. I see Dr. Hoos is back.
I'm just listening to this very good demonstration explanation. Thank you, Camilla. Awesome. Awesome.
All right, I see we don't have questions, and we hear a lot today in the class, which is good.
Awesome. Awesome. Even though it's that cold, hey? Even though it's that cold. All right. All right. So I'm going to thank you, Tumelo. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, so I will then carry on with session number 2, unit number 2. And I'm going to, this is the same thing, share my screen. Thank you, Tumelo. And thank you, Anzani, for letting everybody in. All right. There we go. There we go. Okay. And you will tell me that my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. So we're on unit 2 already. Well done. We travel fast in these things. Okay, so the color sensor is really that sensor. If you master it, there is so much you can do with it. Well, you can sensor colors. So whether you can see a red or a green or a blue, but you can also sense reflected light intensity, and that's the RLI value, which is from 0 to 100. So the opportunities are endless. You can see we've already up the functioning of our robot, because now we can find a line, so we can detect a line, a red line, a blue line, a color line, a black line. We can follow the line, we can follow a red, a black, a white, whatever color line we want. And then the other one is the ambient light, and the ambient light is the light that's around us. There's a really cool little exercise you can do with you build a robot that looks like a cockroach, and so as soon as you shine a torch on it, the cockroach runs away when there's light. Or it stops when there's light, and so you can play around with light. Unfortunately for competitions, that is just a disastrous ambient light thing, because you never know what your light is going to be at the venue. All right. So also in unit 2, it's kind of like a next stage of your functioning of your robot. Okay, remember, we're not doing form. Form we're going to do tomorrow, but the functioning of the robot. So if you have a single sensor, then you've got single input data. Remember, input, process, output. So your input data is what you get from the environment where your robot is. Whether it is the robot walking on the moon, or whether it's the robot going down the road, or whether it's your self-driving car, it's the same thing. But you need to make sure that the data that you collect is the correct data, and the sensor obviously must be attached correctly, not just hang as required. Okay, so now moving from single sensor data to multiple sensor data, and you've got to, and this is kind of where problem solving also comes in, because it's got to be What are you using it for and what comes first? Okay. And so the input data is then used to control values, but for repetition and decision making. And usually the looping is outside and the decision making is multiple times. Okay. Yeah. I just want to, I should have maybe bolded this. Some color sensors, there's a limit to the range that they can see. Okay. And so we also get high sense. So if your robots are participating in like a WRO competition where color is a shade of a color, you can use high technique sensors. So we can use them on the EV3 robots, but you just have a different measurement of the color. So I actually need to make sure whether high-tech sensors can be used on spike primes. Okay, I'll find that one out. Okay. So about the colors, there are specific colors and that you can measure, and I'll show you on your portal when you can see the different colors. Okay. Okay, so how does one calibrate a sensor? There is a really good explanation of kind of identifying where what colors you've got. I would really encourage you to first do the zigzag line follow, and only when you get that right, then you can do proportional line follow. There is an example of proportional line follow for EV3s, the ultimate line follow. Well, obviously, but can I ask that you, don't do it for your students, let them do it themselves. Even if you show them something and say they must copy it, that's fine. But please, you as coaches, please don't do it. You can do it as part of your training, but don't do it for them. Okay. They also need to understand the concept. First, understand the zigzag line follow before you do proportional line follow. Okay. You're doing your learners an injustice if you do it for them, because then they've learned nothing. All right. And how do we use multiple color sensors effectively? And really, you've got to know what are you trying to do. You first want to start the robot, and then you're going to check for the line, or you want to check for the line. So those are all things that you need to, as part of your problem-solving process. Okay. And of course, the best placement for a color sensor, well, it depends what your robot is doing. Okay. So this, for example, is if you have two lines here. Two color sensors here, you can follow on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, and that is good for detecting intersections on your lines. Okay. But also you can use the two color sensors like this to make sure your robot is straight up. So if you see a line here and then you stop this side, and then you come here, and then you've got both lines, and then you reverse the same, and then you know that you can go forward straight. The robot gets a bit confused sometimes in a competition, so it's always good to orientate the robot to make sure you're aligned. The other one is just to reverse back into the wall, and then you know that your robot is straight again, and then you can go forward. These are all tricks that you do to make sure your robot knows what it is. Okay, again, I'm just coming back to the flow control. There's linear, repetition, where it does a chunk of code multiple times, and decision, it can decide which path to follow, and so it will not execute all code. So when you are testing it, you need to test both paths to see that both paths are correct. Okay. Okay, so now I just want to talk to you about attaching a color sensor to the robot and then programming it for a specific task. Okay. So the color sensor, it must be rigid. And this is the example that is in the book, but I want to move it across to the left-hand side, and it mustn't dangle, and it must be just about your pinky height from the mat. If it's too far down, it can't actually read the measurement. Okay. And the wires must be correctly inputted. You must make sure that your wires are what you want, okay, and the measurements are correctly received. Okay. Again, I've said the colors, the color spectrum. The black and the white is obvious, but then there's blue, green, yellow, red, and then the brown, but the brown must be a correct shade of brown. And then the ambient light, your room light, and then the reflected light is 0. If the value is 0, then there's no reflection, and so that's your eyes will see the color black. And if it's 100, most light is reflected, and so the value or the color you will see is white. Okay, and you can see it on the port view, and I'll show you that now when you see it. Okay, so again, how to attach a color sensor. There's no place that it has to be. So if it's forward, it's the color sensor of the object in front of it. If it's down, then it's obvious to follow the line. And if it's at the back, you can reverse to follow a line, although that's not really very reliable. Okay. The structure, it has to be connected rigidly. And I'm going to say it again, it must be connected rigidly. Otherwise, what you're getting is the wrong values. And then if the robot sensor is at all loose, you're not going to get the correct sensor value. All right. And there must be a wire, obviously, from the sensor to the port on the brain. Otherwise, you are not going to get the values correctly. Okay. Into the brain so that you can actually use in your functioning. Okay. Also, another thing, if you're going to go forward and you're going to until you detect a black line, that's great. Okay. The line that you're going to detect must be quite thick so that you make sure you actually detect it. But if it's just a thin pen line and you're going very fast, the chances are that it's not going to measure that, because remember, it's taking multiple measurements as it goes, and it might just not take the measurement. If the line is too thin, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the line. You won't see it. Okay. It's the same with ambient light. If you see the surrounding light, and then there's a shadow. Okay. Yeah, you've got to be very cognizant of what light it is, and you can't move around. I just also want to just caution you when using, don't use ambient light in a competition, because you'll never know what the light actually is. I know in one auditorium in the Science Center, there is a light that comes from the side. So then that light is not actually coming from the top. So what you're seeing is not what the robot sees, a different shade of light. And now I've got a cat and robots here. Come cat. So it's a good, for us, we always practice a robot in the light, and then a robot, we put all the lights off and in the darkness and see whether we get the same value. Oh, my cat. Okay. All right. Let me just quickly get the cat out the way here. Okay. I would just take a white surface and stick a piece of insulation tape down, and then see whether you get the 0 RLI value, and get every single robot must follow zigzag the line. Okay. When you're follow the line, the threshold value is always between the minimum and the maximum. So you actually put your color sensor onto the line, and you see what that value is. It'll show you on your port value, and then you put it onto the white first on the black and then on the white, and so you can see what your min and max values are. You take those two values and you find the value in between. It's the halfway. Okay. All right. So here I've not used the RLI value. I've just used the color black. Okay. So you repeat. You've got here, you see until the color black, and you repeat until you see the color black. Then you stop. So there's your elongated diamond. That's your value that you're going to get from your color sensor. All right. It's connected in port number 3 until it's black. And if it's black, then you're going to stop. So you repeat until your color sensor in port 3 detects the color black. Okay. What are you going to keep doing? You're going to keep moving forward until the color sensor in port number 3 sees the color black, and then it will stop moving, and then you will exit your program. Okay. I'm happy to explain this again. Okay. All right. The RLI value, on the other hand, is your reflected light intensity. Okay, remember you've got the value. It's not a color, it's an intensity that you get back. Okay, so if you've got the line follow, if you've got BNC moving, or the motors, okay, and you set them both to 50%, and you repeat. Okay, so you've got it, you can stop it by pressing the touch sensor. So that's your outer loop. All right. Then you've got another loop that says, no, your decision. So this is your decision. If the reflected light intensity, port number 3, is less than 50%, so that means you're seeing the color black. Okay. If you're seeing the color black, then your B goes slower and your C goes faster. And you keep moving. If you see more than black, so you're seeing white, okay, then your B, your C motor goes off and your B motor goes on. So you'll find that zigzag, 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 until you stop it with the touch sensor. Okay, so that means you have a little bit more control. Okay, so your stopping value is the value of your touch sensor. Okay. There are lots of references. There are some, and you can stop at a line. The other one is the crossing of intersections, because you follow a line and then you get to an intersection, and so what must you do? And there's a really good example of what you can do at an intersection. Okay, and that is the end of the presentation. A lot of practical stuff, that needs to be practiced, a lot of code, a lot of code that you must test. And I'm really looking to you to say we will do all those examples. Okay, there are lots of examples, there are lots of challenges, there are lots of things that you can do with the color sensor. Follow the line straight, follow the line circle, curve, follow the line around square. You can do it all with insulation tape. Stick it down with insulation tape and get your learners to practice. Starting with the touch sensor, going forward, ending with the touch sensor, or just starting it and then ending it with the touch sensor, or ending it when there's something in front of it, or follow the line. So do the one sensor first, touch sensor, ultrasonic sensor, and then you move on to color sensor. And then with the color sensor, detect a line first, just detect a line, and then follow the line. And then we start adding things. And now my cat is sitting on my phone here. Sorry, cat. Okay. Are there any questions, team?
I don't see anything on the chats and no hands.
No hands. No. Who put the poll up, by the way?
I think that's Tumelo.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to make them engage because I see there are no hands and no questions, so that we can see perhaps do we have anyone who has joined the courses? Maybe not, maybe yes, and then we can take it from there. I see it's only 3 people that responded in the polls.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Maybe it'll good to get a better overview. Are there no hands up? No hands up. No questions. It's fine. It's fine. I would like to think that everybody's going to go home now and go and practice, and then try to actually get their robots to work. I see there's one hand here. Hang on a minute.
Ebony, your microphone has been. There we go.
Hi, Dr. House. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes.
I'm okay. My question is relevant to this workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to know, if you want to register for your teams, where do you go? Where do you go to register for Explore?
Okay, Ebony, rather just send me an email and I'll explain that to you one-on-one. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Okay.
All right, and then on
Was
the
there nothing that
chat.
day? No hands? No.
I see
No more
Natasha Fry is asking on the chats,
Yeah.
until when do we have to complete all the activities?
Natasha, if you look at your overview document, there is lots of activities. But if you look under syllabus as well, there are lesson plans and activity sheets. You can use that in your classes. You have enough to fill a whole term. So there are 4 units. I would really say you've got so unit 1, you've got about 3 lessons. Unit 2, you've got 4 lessons. Unit 5, we're going to do gearing and then unit 4 is powered attachments. You've got a whole term of learning there. And if the learners struggle, you just make it a little bit longer. You want your learners, thanks to Mello, there we go. You want your learners to understand the work. So you can go over it a gazillion times. There we go. Thank you so much. And if you have better ideas, or if you have some additional ideas to add to our lesson plans, we would love to hear from you. In terms of the challenge for M2, it's kind of the same mat as for M1. So it's a whole lot of tape that you can stick down, and there must be a line follow, and with the missions, there must be a line follow, and there must be a powered attachment. There must be an example of a powered attachment. Okay. And so thank you, Tumelo. So that's what the mat looks like. There we go. And it gives you the layout and gives you all the measurements. And then you've got to go through and read all the missions and decide which of the missions require a line follow and which of the missions require a powered attachment. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so clear the speeds is just the passive attachment. To go to the blue line, there is a color. Yes, the red line, there is a color sensor. The green line, there is a color sensor. Yes. Okay, keep going. Okay, and then there's a move the cups and around the block. There we go, and it must go follow the line. So it can follow the line from X back to X. Okay. And that would be, if you use this as a challenge in your classroom, then that could be a possible score sheet that you can use. Okay. But you've got until December to submit your challenge video. Maybe get your learners to help you also do it, and then it's part of their learning as well. Okay. Thanks, Tumelo. Any other questions, Tumelo?
I don't see any questions. No questions among the 26 participants, or rather 23. Any questions from our online participants? Feel free to raise your hand. Can I ask that who amongst us here is new, who is confused, who is like, what's happening here? I don't understand. Please raise your hand and then we can be with you. Please don't be ashamed so that we clarify. There we go. Senkosi is new here.
Okay, welcome, Senkosi.
Who else? All right. I assume that we only have Senkosi, who's the only one who's new here. So this is our email address, Senkosi. Feel free to send us an email there, and I'm going to post the MOOC portal link so that Senkosi will be able to join, and then we can take the conversation on the email if there are any questions.
Tumelo, maybe just share also your Friday afternoon meeting with the Q&As.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
I think that'll help as well, if there are any questions.
Thank you so much. All right.
Here we go. All right. And really with the sensors, it's really about practicing writing code and testing it. Writing code, download it and test it. writing code, download and test it, and test different options. That's why for every unit there are objectives that you need to be able to complete. And your testing is obviously if the code that you write is what your robot does. Remember, there's no such thing as a stupid robot. It's the code that you write. Okay. Thanks, Tamela. There we go.
All right. Any questions going once, going twice?
It looks like
There we
no.
go. Thank you, Nkosi. Your microphone has been unmuted. Shoot.
Good afternoon
Hi.
to everyone. I wanted to find out, do we have the recording of today's session?
It will be up after the weekend. We put up our recordings onto our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. No, thank you.
Very welcome. Very, very welcome. Okay. I'm happy. Everybody else happy? Yes, Elmarie, thank you. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to end the session. Tamela, you want to have a final words?
On my side, I'm just uploading links and so they can make use of our information.
Good.
So yeah, so far on my side, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. And Zani, you're good?
I am good. However, any burning questions they should ask. This might be the second last until we see them after August. So there's going to be a huge gap where we won't be seeing them online. So yeah.
Hibernating. We're going to hibernate for July. We always hibernate in July. Yes.
Yeah. So whatever burning questions tomorrow, they should pen it down.
Thank you. Good remembrance. Good thought there. There we go. Yeah, we always hibernate in July. It's one of those things. But we'll have to do something in July, maybe when the schools come back in July. Okay. When we come out of hibernation, after the schools come back. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to my